Corporate press is the enemy of the people. I'm going to show you an example of why. They hype up a lot of stuff, particularly in the aspect of race, and they make things appear a lot worse than what they are, and they get people hyped up, and unfortunately, the hyping them up turns into action. And there are people that aren't smart enough, because they're too stupid. I just call it what it is. Too stupid to realize that there's more to this. They should look at the world as it is, not as what they're told that it is. But unfortunately, if they get things hyped up, you see this. I think race is the true topic where you see this play out the most. This is probably the most bizarre story you're going to hear on this. Michael Rhee of Lake Forest attacked Asian woman believing she was white in retaliation for rise in hate crimes. Now, I know I explained that to you, and it sounds bizarre, and it doesn't make sense. So let me explain this. Let me just break it down in ripper terms, if you will. Asian man beat up an Asian woman or attacked an Asian woman because she thought the Asian woman was white in retaliation to the hate crimes that I guess they thought was being perpetuated by white people on the Asian people, though that's not what any of the like actual demographics generally are. It's not usually white people. We use black people, but you know that gets people rubbed the wrong way when we talk about these recent rise in Asian hate crimes. So we have ourselves a Asian, like a hate crimeception, right? Because okay, so that person the Asian man wanted to whoop up on the white person, not because the white person did something wrong, but because the white person, he thought again were just part of the race that had been perpetuating these rise in Asian hate crimes. So he ends up just beating up another Asian woman. And there's the Asian man that somehow confused a white woman for Asian. But it's still a hate crime nonetheless. I mean, by their own definition. I think the term hate crime is silly anyway. But I mean, by their own terms, this would be a hate crime because he was targeting her. But it just so happened that he got the target wrong. He missed the mark, if you will. Didn't properly read the UAV. Friendly fire, motherfucker. Oh, that's what happened when you play your hardcore, man. Oh, man. Michael Sangbong Rhee, 37 years of age, was arrested Thursday night at his home in Lake Forest. Irvine police say Rhee may have attacked a woman believing she was white in retaliation for the rise of hate crimes against Asian people. Irvine police say an Asian woman was sitting in the driver's seat of her car rear of her apartment. What? Thursday afternoon, when she looked up to see Rhee standing at the door holding a handgun. Holy shit. Says she told police she did not recognize Rhee, who ordered her to get into the back of her car if she wanted to live. Jesus Christ. Said this is intense. The woman said he offered Rhee her wallet and money. He replied they would do that later. Before getting in her car through the passenger side door and pushed her into the back seat. So he jacked her own car. She struggled with Rhee, who she told police began to grope her. Damn, this guy's intense, man. Then yelled to a maintenance worker nearby that he had a gun. Police say Rhee got out of the car and ran through the apartment community, driving away in his own car. Surveillance cameras captured his license plate as he drove away. A search for Rhee's home turned up the vehicle linking him to the assault, and it was a BB gun, similar to the weapon described by the woman. So it wasn't even a real handgun. Well, it's a handgun, it just wasn't a fucking actual firearm. I guess it was a firearm, just 5 BBs. Detective believed Rhee, who was Korean, targeted a woman because he thought she was white based on his own statements. So he said that. Because, yeah, I was looking like, what about this interaction made this make sense? And that the assault was in retaliation for hate crimes that have skyrocketed among Asian people. So he admitted that. That's interesting. That's interesting. So that means that one of two things happen. One of two things happen out of that. He thinks that he is going to get it's a Hail Mary, right? People do a lot of desperate things when they about to fucking go to jail. So one of two things could have happened. He could have genuinely thought that, obviously. That's something that you have to take into consideration. But the other is that he thought that it was going to be a lesser charge. Because, well, racism against whites is permissible. So he's looking at it like, well, they'll give me somewhat of a pass. They'll give me somewhat of a pass if I just say that, well, I was doing it because I'm the victim here. I'm the victim here. I just thought that, she was white. And what a finesse if that was his approach. But wouldn't that make it worse? Because then at that point, you just I don't know if he knows how hate crimes actually work, but that would mean that you just admitted to a hate crime, dipshit. You snitched on yourself. You lied yourself into a stronger sentence. Oh, well, that guy with the brightest thing in the brightest bunch. I don't know what the term is. It doesn't matter. He's just not bright. Let's just say that. The brightest bulb. Brightest bulb in the tree. That don't even make sense, but that's what we going with. He ain't the brightest bulb in the tree. Oh, man. So, yeah, he might have lied himself into a because maybe he just it was a carjacking, and maybe he just tried to lie himself into a lighter sentence. But because, again, the corporate press, they've hyped this shit up, and they act like this is permissible, right? Because they've half-assed, like even reported on some of this on some of these instances, which is why you see the other cases get buried. The one that they did cover was the Syrian man, and once they found out he was Syrian, they buried that. But that's not even the case that I'm referencing. Actually, I'm remembering. I'm actually speaking to the massage parlor thing, right? Whereas to the guy, actually, that case did get buried, by the way, once they found out he was Syrian. Y'all see how that just left they stopped talking about that real fast. But the case with the guy that went around, killed, including, I think 2 of them were white, actually, but it was like 8 people, if I'm not mistaken. 6 were Asian, 2 were white. And they, of course, pinned that on rise in Asian crimes and all this stuff. The guy was white, or something of that nature. Though there was no proof. There was no proof that he did that because they were Asian, right? It seems to be more of a sex obsession related, but of course, they don't talk about that. Enemies of the people. That's how they operate. But maybe they do know it. Maybe they're smart enough to understand that them pushing it in the way that they do gets other people hyped up to do stupid shit. Like you see right now. And it's manifested itself into a quasi hate crimeception thing that we have going on, where it's hard to even make out what's going on. But at minimum, you'd have to concede that the person thought that it was permissible because he tried to play basically the victim. So he thought, hey, okay, it's okay for me to use aggression on some other person because I thought she was white. That's an insane thing, but that can only be assumed if the going narrative is the going narrative, where they only play it one way. These people are crazy. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.